let's call out some infighting in the LGBTQT78 smiley face -1 ad plus symbol community.
No.
You have been warned. Let the demonetization process begin! Let me just right quick insert myself into the middle of warring parties of shenanigans to call out an injustice, and also get some radical tranny activists mad at me for funsies.
The war of lesbians and trannies has begun. No one is safe in the epic documentary starring lesbians as trans exclusionary radical feminists and Twitter warriors as gender binary non-conforming they-thems as they strive to answer the age-old questions of what does it mean to be a woman? Can a lesbian suck dick and still be a lesbian? Are lesbians just vagina fetishists? Is your sexual preference bigotry? And so much more.
Let's have some fun. Let it be known, I had something else planned for this week. All scripted and written and filed away under next week's videos files or something, I don't know. But that video was much less juicy than this. So we're doing this. Now I stumbled across this thread from Exposing Lesbophobes XX, a collage of just some of the purest nuclear hot takes that I had to absolutely share with all of you, my lovely viewers, and it led me down a rabbit hole of the greatest caliber known to man. It's all so fucking gay. So, what's the issue? Well, here are some tweets to explain it to you very thoroughly, I might add. The sentiment that is so divisive amongst the LGBT community is this. Transphobe, a lesbian who doesn't like penis. I'll do you one better and call you TERF instead, TERF. So you accept that there is a class of biologically female people, i.e. not trans women, who are exclusively attracted to other biologically female people, i.e. not trans people. What would you call that group of female people? They're called TERFs, because they're transphobic. Confused by the viral Insta post that essentially says, I'm not a TERF, I'm a lesbian. That makes me think that you're a TERF, kid. Bro, I've been called a TERF for refusing to fuck trans women. I'm a lesbian, I don't like cock. How am I wrong for that? That is TERF. No, you dumbass, it's called common sense. There is nothing wrong with a lesbian declining to fuck cock. It is literally the definition of TERF, but okay. So, if lesbian is attracted to vagina, she is a TERF, LMFAO. Yes, because not all women have vaginas, and not all vagina-having people are women. Just say you're a vagina fetishist and go home. I get nervous when women say they're lesbians, because my first reaction is, are you a TERF? And that sucks. I have never met a cis lesbian who wouldn't fuck a trans girl who wasn't a TERF, so do please show me where I've been a TERF. I oppose threats of violence and do not consider them art. I oppose homophobic shaming of lesbians for not being sexually available to trans ladies and their penises. Neither position is bullying of anyone. Sentence 3 of that tweet, very TERF. Bigotry is a bad look on anyone. So the issue has been set. Lesbians who don't like dick in their sex lives are in fact TERFs. For those of you unfamiliar, TERF is an acronym for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. They're a subset of the feminism we've all come to know and love that is third wave, and their typical belief is that the only real women's, are those born with vaginas and XX chromosomes. No mention of sexual relations, per se, or lesbians with general preferences or sexual orientation, and of course there's a pre-qualifier that these people must be militant and feminist, as evident by the radical feminism part of that acronym, but I digress. TERFs are preemptively associated with an anti-masculine sentiment, obviously, in all capacities, simply because of some deeply ingrained hatred of men first, due to the radical feminist association, but more often than not, that tends to lead to the second part of which is that trans women are in fact the enemy, attempting to infiltrate the sanctity of womanhood, or something. But of course, that has been lost in translation time and time again, as you have seen already. They do not typically associate romantically and or physically outside of their specified gender and or sexual orientation. Human sexuality is not a one-size-fits-all category thing, believe it or not. I could make a vagina penis joke there, but I'm not going to. Dating and engaging in sexual intercourse with others is an inherently discriminatory process because not everyone has the same standards or baselines for who they would fuck, per se. If that were the case, then everyone would just be fucking everyone all of the time. And that's not the case, so there we go. Lesbians typically want a woman. A big part of that is what just so happens to be in between her legs or in her pants, and pre-op trans women don't fit that shoe. Sorry to say. However, there is a disconnect. With the trans activists, the opposing perspective is this. Not to be a whiny bitch, but I'm fucking tired of trans exclusionary posts about gay/lesbian sex. I know y'all aren't meaning to be transphobic, but please consider not everyone with a penis is a guy and not everyone with a vagina is a woman. It's narrow-minded and frustrating. Well, to them, the only ones that matter is the ones that matter to them. So, I'm sorry? Whether or not you agree with the sentiment is of little consequences. However, the issue isn't the gender status of members of the trans community, rather the specific genitals that gets one off of the rest of everyone else who either would or would not sleep with these trans individuals. That is the issue. You have no right to refuse to date someone who belongs to the genders you are attracted to solely because of what is in their pants. This sort of exclusion is transphobic and invalidates our gender binaries. You heard it here, kids. No longer is sexual orientation about what you have in your pants, it's about what the person you are or are not sleeping with identifies as gender-wise. Because that makes sense. You have to be attracted to the idea someone has of themselves in their own head rather than the reality of what's between their legs. Savvy. Is it okay to have preferences? Yes, but communication is key. Here's the thing, I don't think they're preferences so much as sexual orientations. Unadjustable, that is. Non-changing. Static. Stoic. Set. Make your preferences clear so we understand that you view is for who we are and just aren't is not something. Christ, that was exhausting to read. But also, understand that there are ways to do sexual things with people that aren't strictly penetrative sex, even if a certain activity isn't to your liking. Chances are you can find something that is. Translation. You're just boring in the sack, you're ignorant of the fact that there is so much you can do that doesn't involve genitals in the bedroom. Sexual activities don't have to involve your primary sex organs, people, in the postmodernist gender non-binary society that we have. I hate that this needs to be repeated, but sexuality is dependent on gender, not what's in someone's pants. Well, that's demonstrably false on all fronts, but continue. Including trans people in your sexuality is not a preference, it's a duty. It is your duty to have sex with people you might not be attracted to. Duty. It's your duty. You must have sex with people if we are to dismantle the oppressive system. Consent has nothing to do with sex.
Who thinks of consent?
Is there someone you forgot to ask? God damn it. One more thing. It's one more thing. It's fetishization for fuck me up, brother. One more thing. It's fetishization. Cut me some slack, bruh. One more thing. It's fetishization. Christ, that's a hard word to say. To only like someone because of what's in their pants, and if you do that, you're disgusting. See ya. Oh, and one last thing, people. If you think that sex is all about which specific genitals you can and cannot get off to, you're actually committing toxic masculinity and fetishizing genitals, and hence are part of the problem. You bigot.
What?
I don't suck dick. Well, good for you. I don't care if you dom or bottom. You can still get fucked by a trans woman if you want, and your homosexuality will be intact. So often we see people of this caliber intellect take a concept such as homosexuality or sometimes masculinity and, in a sense, quantify it in an objectifying way in an effort to demean its inherent significance to the individual. This is, in essence, them declaring that your arbitrary, unchanging identity is of very little consequence to them and hence doesn't matter in the long term or in the broad landscape of things that exists. But not only is your sexual orientation an objective thing to be shunned to the back of one's mind, it's also at its core transphobic, don't you know? So the dictionary definition of homosexuality is transphobic? Yes. No wiggle room in that one, it's just a hard, straight fucking yes. If you dismiss women out of hand for having a dick, then yes, it is transphobic. Sorry, that's what the word means. Lesbians like you and I have a right to not want certain genitals in the bedroom. I'm a trans woman who likes men and some pre-op trans women. However, I exclude trans men. Am I transphobic? Yes. Yeah, didn't you know? I'm a trap. Yes, as I've mentioned in this thread, dismissing someone of the gender you're attracted to out of hand because of genitalia is transphobic. If you had said, oh, I don't want to sleep with him because he's black, that'd be racist. This is the same thing. No, it's not, because one of those is a racial preference and the other is a sexual orientation. Let me give you an analogy. This is a penis and this is a penis. They're two different colors, but they're still penises. That's the racial aspect. Now, different analogy, same penises. This one is actually soap penis, and this one is actually a bottle opener penis. They're very different in smell, function, use, etc. Analogy done. And then there's this chick who just had the most volcanic of hot takes on the subject, so let's just indulge ourselves, shall we? Thread. If you say you're gay/lesbian and don't include trans people in your dating pool because of genital preferences, then guess what? You're just transphobic. Not all men have the same genitals, neither do all women. If you say you're into all men/women, you'd be into them regardless of their junk. Claiming that your exclusionary dating habits are okay is gross and transphobic, and criticizing you isn't homophobic. I'm sick of this cis gay/lesbian Wow, she doesn't know how to use it, period. Shit. I just swallowed my own spit. I'm sick of cis/gay. I'm sick of cis gay/lesbians trying to justify their exclusionary preferences. Like, no. Just admit you're transphobic and move on. So much transphobia. Ugh. I really wish people would understand this. Liking a vag, as opposed to not vages, isn't a preference, it's a sexual fucking orientation. Not a preference. Not a preference! Sorry. Thinking that orientation comes anywhere close to the adjustability of what is technically a preference is making a fundamental error in logic of colossal proportions. You need to learn the lesson the conversion camp people did, that it's not a fucking choice. If you're actually gay, you'll date all men, which includes trans men. Same for lesbians. A real lesbian would date all women, trans women included. If not, then you're not only transphobic, but you're also not really gay/lesbian if you won't date all men/women. Where the fuck are my bagpipes? Oh, there they are. Oftentimes, cis gay men and lesbians will use their gayness as an excuse to not date trans people. Yes, because they don't know anyone, any specific person, their time in the dating arena if they don't have any interest in them. Trans folk aren't entitled to anyone's time regardless of anything, and forcing them onto people via guilt tripping or virtue signaling is going to end up very bad for a lot of people, so just cease, okay? Okay?
A lot of people?
A lot of people. I'm talking World War III, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Call the army!
Because their genitals are different, which is 1, making that assumption when it may not be true, acting like that's a valid reason to not date someone, 3, specifically eliminating trans people from your dating pool, 4, misgendering trans people, identifying them based on their genitals. I've seen a lot from cis gays and it's gross as fuck. I get being attracted to certain genitals, but saying that you can't date someone who's trans automatically because of genitals is presumptuous and transphobic. That's a hot word for the day. Drink every time you hear transphobic, guys. And just all around not okay. You're assuming a lot of incorrect things about trans people when you say that. And it's something cis gay/lesbians do all the fucking. Who would you rather have? A willing participant in these relationships with trans people, or someone who you had to basically guilt trip into being with them? Potentially, but then don't say you're gay or lesbian. Sexuality is about gender, not what's in someone's pants. What happens if you say you're only into someone with specific genitals? Bring them home assuming they have certain ones, then discover they don't. Are you suddenly not attracted to them anymore? That seems pretty gross to me, to be honest. Well, I mean, think about it. If you were expecting vagina and you got dick, that does seem pretty fucking gross, man. I'm just saying. Genitals are kind of where you do the, diddly, but also all of the other shit. Quite literally. So, I mean... While I do enjoy gazing upon a beautiful lady from time to time, guys, if I saw a vagina in real life, it would kill my lady boner pretty quick, because I'm just not into it. Oh well. It's funny you mention it, though. It's disgusting that people like this exist, where lesbian is specifically vagina on vagina. I know, how dare that lesbians like only vaginas. That's just, how could they? This is a traitorous thing to say and do, and I can't put any significance behind this. It's... You guys see how ridiculous this is, don't you? Fuck you. Sexuality addresses gender. You don't have to have a dick to be gay if you identify as guy. Why do you have to have a vagina to be a lesbian? Eat my meaty cock, Lisa. Who the fuck is Lisa and why is she eating your dick? For the billionth time, being exclusively attracted to people with one sort of genitals is wrong. Because it is. Full stop. This whole video is a shit show, but for the best reasons. You guys ready for a story time? Because I got a hell of one for you.
Oh boy, I'm ready.
You ready for the story?
Yeah.
Alright. Trans women shouldn't tell people they're trans, so last week I went out on a second date with a woman that identified as a lesbian. We met through a dating site. I hadn't told her that I'm trans, nor should I have, so after our second date we went to her house. We made out and I went down on her. Then something bad happened. She grabbed my crotch and felt my erect penis, and when this happened, she stopped kissing me and gave me a weird look. I was extremely confused at this moment, so I showed her my penis and she literally starts screaming. I tried to calm her down, and when she got over the initial shock a little bit, she told me I'm a man. That's when I slapped her. I don't usually hit women, but her calling me a man is worse than physical violence. She just stood there, teary and silent, and looked at me like a fucking idiot. After that, I just stormed out and blocked her on my phone. After I got home, I kept thinking, cis people, especially women, are so shallow. This woman screamed because of my genitals. Do people ask potential partners what type of genitals they have before going out on a date with them? Whose fault was it that she assumed I had a vagina? Well, you didn't exactly tell her, and if you pass as a woman, I mean, it's kind of within your responsibilities to tell somebody that you have a penis if they're expecting not a penis. If she was a normal woman and not a lesbian, would she scream if the guy she was dating had a smaller penis than what she hoped for? Not the same thing! Not at all. Also, small penises are not scary when you expect a penis. It's only when you don't expect a penis that they're terrifying. Why the fuck are cis people so obsessed with genitals? We're not. We just have sexual orientations that are specific to certain genitals, but, I digress. Fellow trans women, don't tell people you're trans if you don't want to. You don't owe shit to anyone. If you've had the surgery and you can be stealthy and trick people, fucking do it. This person is giving you bad advice, don't listen to them. If they find out you're trans and they make you feel bad about it, beat the shit out of them. No one has the right to invalidate your identity. If you do anything, do the exact opposite of that, fellow trans people. You're beautiful, and they were lucky to have a chance with you. I don't think that she feels lucky after you slapped her. So that was one giant heaping, steaming pile of what the fuck?
Quite literally.
Yeah, it was. Okay, but having a genital preference, even if it stems from rape, is wrong and transphobic, and maybe you should really think about why you only want vagina in your life, in your mouth, and how you literally excluding people based on genitals from your love. It's wrong. You know what? The anti-gay marriage people said the same thing about homosexuality. That it was wrong. Maybe you need to rethink that strategy. Am I having a stroke, or is this actually what this says? And frankly, I think most cis lesbians should be on a TERF list, because I've never met on that wasn't stuck up Sint who prioritized her organs before the need for love trans women have. Maybe you should stop your sexual bigotry. That was a train wreck, but I'll continue anyway. How about this? Lesbians will fuck trans people when you consent to fucking every single other person on the planet that wants yo, V, or G, or whatever it is that you have down there. Because they all deserve love too, right? And it would be bigoted of you to discriminate for any reason at all, no matter how arbitrary and or valid it might be to you on a personal level. Go do it, no excuses, and then we can talk, alright? I honestly feel bad for homophobe and transphobes who are so hung up on genitals. That's all you are? A flap of skin between your legs? There's a transphobic subset of lesbians who insist that being lesbian means being attracted to vaginas only, never penises. That's it. I'm pretty sure they're just called lesbians, dear. This is textbook manipulation, and honestly, I find it fucking disgusting, which is why we're doing this video, because I like to be disgusted. Why? I personally view lesbians as spectrum trans who don't have the same dysphoria, thus don't transition, although they try to mimic typical males. You hear that, kids? Lesbians are just trans people without the dysphoria. Imagine living in such a state of delusion and insanity, my dudes. I bet it's I bet it is nice to lose one's grip on reality from time to time, or perpetually, however you like your cake. Whenever I see cis lesbians say anything relating their love of women to boobs or vaginas, I want to kill myself. How tragic. Genital preferences are sexist as frick. Start unlearning that shit if you haven't already, because trans bodies are worthy of love/sex, and I'm tired of reiterating that. Your cis-normative ideas about sexuality are boring. Gay, straight, lesbians, bi, etc. all outdated ways of thinking about sexuality, all limited by cis-normative plus oppressor's language. Fuck me up. How we define sexuality is in itself oppressive to trans people. Hear that, kids? We're all just not up to par with the popular social constructs orders of the day, meaning we just have to wait this fad out in hopes that it goes away soon. But none of that has anything on the violence that you'll be threatened with or face if you're a lesbian who doesn't want to fuck a trans person. And this is where we get into the serious shit, kids. Tonight was fucking wild, but honestly, there's nothing like physically fighting a turf together to remind you how much your friends are truly your chosen family. My right hand is sore and swollen. Imagine her face. Cry emoji. Deserved it. I hope her face is embarrassingly fucked up for work tomorrow, because the only thing fucked up on me is my fist. I want to rape a turf to death, then chop its body into pieces and leave them for the crows. Same. I want to set turf lesbians on fire, like how fucking dare you. Turf lesbians who refuse to date turf women can die in a hole. Turf lesbians can die, honestly. How's that for inclusion and diversity? Now, it should be understood that turfs and turf lesbians are not the same thing. One is a highly aggressive group of women with their panties in a bunch about all things masculine, while the other is just a bunch of women who get labeled with the wrong end of the stick for their sexual orientation because they just want vagina. Not the same thing at all. And I hope you can remember that, kids, because it's important as fuck, especially when women are getting fucking beat up by other assholes out there in the streets. Sorry. Now, if you are a lesbian, and I'm talking directly to you at this point, know that you're not a bad person for not wanting to sleep with someone for any reason. It has nothing to do with their genitals, or if they're trans, or anything. It goes for sleeping with anyone. Mate selection is by its very nature discriminatory, even if you're not going to have kids. There's nothing wrong with being discriminatory whatsoever when you're finding someone to have sex with. I can't make it any simpler for you. Live your best life the way that you want to, so long as you're not hurting anybody. It shouldn't be an issue, and anyone who thinks differently is a self-important entitled douche canoe, and they can go jump off a cliff. For all that I care, and for all that you should care. Capiche? Aight. Now, if you like my content, you like what I'm doing here on this channel, you can check out my links in the description to all of my Patreon, Teespring, and Amazon wish lists, shenanigans, all that jazz. If you like what I'm doing here, but not necessarily that much, that's cool. You can always like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Plus, hit the little bell thing just so you get the notification, because it helps a little bit.